Welcome to 5-Star Company Culture with your host, Josh Cunningham. In this podcast, we explore how culture is the key to unlocking massive profits and unprecedented freedom. Discover insights, strategies, and inspiring stories to transform your life and business. Here's your host, Josh Cunningham.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of our 5-Star Company Culture podcast, where we are bringing you insights from business owners all around the country, all around the globe, to help you learn more about implementing that 5-star company culture into your business. My name is Josh Cunningham. I am the host here, and of course, the founder and CEO of rokrbox. rokrbox is a inside sales assistant service in the real estate space, and over the last 10 years, we've hired and trained over 400 inside sales associates and managed and facilitated over 3 million internet leads. And we've done that through having a winning company culture. So again, our goal here today on the podcast is to bring you some insights from other entrepreneurs and talk about their company culture and how it's helped them unlock some of the freedom in their business life and their personal life, and help them, of course, attract and retain top quality talent. And then also, get those raving reviews from their customers. And so today's guest is a close personal friend of mine, Mr. Harlan Scott out of Austin, Texas. How's it going today, Harlan?
It's going well. It's raining. It's been raining, I feel like, every day in Austin for the past 5 months. But here we are.
So
That's
Harlan
not why
and I
people move here.
Yeah, right. That's not in the brochure. But Harlan and I's paths crossed a long time ago when we were both in College Station, Texas, which of course is home to Texas A&M University. And I had the privilege of meeting Harlan in the restaurant space, in the restaurant industry. And he's done some amazing things through his career. I'll let him tell the story. But he's a business owner of several different restaurants. And so today I wanted to bring him on today to give us some insight about how company culture can be important in the restaurant industry. So Harlan, why don't you take it away and give everybody a brief elevator pitch here on who the heck you are and some of your successes in the restaurant industry.
Sure. I'll be brief but detailed at the same time if possible. I met you in college, right? I was going to Texas A&M, but I waited tables ever since high school. I was in love with the idea. The harder you work, the more money you can make, which is not a lot of jobs like that that are entry level when you're 17, but waiting tables is one of them. I did it all through school. I took a semester off, not knowing I was never going to go back. And they made me a manager. A lot of times that decision, left turn, results in you being like a burnout bartender in your 40s. And I was able to find success and work my way through the restaurant industry, not having finished my college degree. Going on from waiter to manager to general manager to opening another 2 restaurants with the restaurant I worked at in college, to be director of operations. And I was in College Station for about 10 years. In 2008, which was a bad time to open an upscale steakhouse in a small town, I left that company. I was let go of that company at the top of the food chain and moved to Austin and started back over in 2010 as a general manager, working 6 nights a week, 70 hours, making $47,000. And I'm 28 years old, and I don't have my degree. And that was a moment where I could question, did I make the right decision? What is my worth? But a year later, we opened another restaurant, and then 6 years, we opened 5 concepts. Me and the chef owner. He was a celebrity chef. I was the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain that helped him grow. And next thing you know, we have 150 employees. I have a 6-figure salary, and I don't work nights, and I don't work weekends. And that was all the way to 2016. So now I've been with 2 companies for 6 years each. I've built up an empire, and then only to be shown the door once I created all the systems and culture for them, and we hit a rough patch, and I was no longer needed. And in this case, I actually asked for equity wisely, but that caused our relationship to deteriorate instantly, and I was out the door within 3 months. So now what do? Well, I started a consulting company. Everyone recognized how we went from 1 to 5 businesses, and it kept company culture intact, which I know is the point of this podcast. everyone in the office community, in the restaurant community, was a very, very tight group. And everyone wanted to have a cup of coffee and find out why I'd lost my job. And everyone wanted to offer me a job. And I said, I'm not doing this a third time. I'm not going to build up someone else's empire, create a bunch of infrastructure to put on autopilot and have everybody happy and singing the same music, and then be told, well, what's my role, and lose my job again. So I said, but I will give you some advice. I'll give you some advice for some money. And Harlan Scott Hospitality was started, and I've worked with over 50 clients in the past 6 years. It started much like the show Bar Rescue, our Restaurant Impossible. People bring me into an organization that was run entirely on people and no systems or processes, and people are volatile. And so I write training manuals. I develop cost controls. I'd create repetitive structure such as Janitor meetings and other things that again lead to culture to make these businesses more sustainable for the owner, so they can stop owning a job and start owning a business, and all the other euphemisms like do you work on the business or in the business. Those things have been my bread and butter. In 2018, my now business partner talked me into opening a restaurant with him. I said no to him 4 years ago, but I had more bandwidth and bigger ego. Thought I could do it this time. And then Josh here on the other end of this line, who was kind enough to even invest a little bit. And we opened a restaurant in 2018, and we opened another one 4 months ago. Along the way, we restored and opened a 40-year-old pizza brand that has closed, and we brought it back to life in the same town, same market where we opened the first industry. So I have one here on the east side in Austin where I live. I'm still consulting. In fact, that business is exploding, and I'm trying to figure out how to scale that while running 3 restaurants with 90 employees. So that's me right now. And if you're wondering, no, I haven't been on a date every year. I'm just too busy. Singles.
That was probably the number one takeaway there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Like, how does this guy can't have a dog, you can only have a cat?
Well, I think you said a lot of things there that stuck out. One of the things I've always admired about your passion for the restaurant industry is that service aspect of it, which is, providing to other people, enhancing someone's experience, giving them a remarkable, meaning that they'll tell someone else about it, a remarkable experience. And that's actually kind of the concept of your restaurant industry. So why don't you elaborate a little bit more about, taking that passion that you had and literally molding it into a restaurant concept? Why don't you talk a little bit about industry?
Yeah. So, I mean, I went to A&M, which is in itself quite a culture. It's, some people call it a culture. Furthermore, I was in the Corps of Cadets, which is, kind of a military organization that brings you to, be an officer when you graduate. It's like a little mini military academy, and they say, you make these friends for life, and this is your core crew, and okay, true, but it was waiting tables in my restaurant where I met the realest people, where I went through the most adversity, people that I worked alongside that having to serve others, coming home sore, coming home sweaty, coming home tired, and sometimes having to really take it on the chin in the name of hospitality. And it was a battle experience, and the authenticity of the people I work with, which is just a natural byproduct of meeting 300 strangers a day, and the work ethic and the ability to adapt and things, and with so many situations with so many people. These things you're not necessarily born with. But I felt that it was such a gift to have to serve others and interact with so many people every day, that I felt like, man, the industry changes. It made me a different person, and it changed the trajectory of my life. I wanted to be president of the United States. I wanted to get in politics, and I always wanted some kind of front-facing position where I dealt with people. But I thought to myself, I feel sorry for people that never had to serve others for a living. And when they go and ask and order a burger in a restaurant, they don't know that there's 3 different ways you can ask for that burger, and 2 of them are kind, and one of them sounds really aloof, and a lot of people just don't know that. And I think now, whenever I go, my interaction at the gas station or at the ticket counter at an airline is I try and be the best experience that person had all day by speaking to them with a level of empathy that I only got from the service industry. And so here we are, right? I have a restaurant name industry. Why? Well, I opened, a half dozen, if not maybe 8, quasi fine dining restaurants, over celebritized food restaurants where there's an article, about what's the chef's favorite music playlist is, and all that hype and hyperbole that the Food Network and Bravo has brought to our industry. And I decidedly wanted to get away from that and create an environment where the servant master relationship was eliminated in hospitality. I felt like there's become a sense of entitlement. Customers come into a restaurant and say the customer's always right. No, the customer's actually usually wrong. But they're always a customer. And I think we do a disservice in hospitality when we allow people to say they're always right and be able to demand whatever they want. And so I tried to create a kind of a beer garden counter service community space where do we give bad service? Are we rude to you like Dick's Last Resort? No, but we are creating a family atmosphere in the way we communicate with guests and the style of service that we give, which is kind of a hybrid between full service and also like let you do your own thing and camp out for 3 hours. And the word industry to me embodied not only a lifestyle of authenticity, but also genuineness. And by authenticity, I mean, if somebody's an asshole, you can get out of my restaurant. I'm not going to cater to that, but otherwise, I'm going to be freaking awesome to you. And that's how you treat your family. You're not going to tell your brother, yes, sir, may I have another after he punches you in the face. Punch him back. We don't necessarily do that. But industry was a dog whistle component to anyone in the service industry that comes in here between our hours, our secret menu items, our secret discounts. We want to be a refuge for people in the service industry. And we have little call outs and Easter eggs throughout the restaurant that if you've ever served or waited tables, they're like, oh, dude, this place gets me. Lots of little clever things, just saying the menu phrases that we have this 86 board. Anybody who's ever been in the service industry knows what 86 means. It means you're out of it, no more, done, finished. It's become a euphemism for over it, done, bye. And so we have an 86 board where you can write the things you don't write that we're out of burgers. You write 86 this weather, 86 the Cowboys every time they lose because I'm a Texans fan. Write whatever you want. Write whatever you want on that board, and it's kind of an Instagram moment, So, but to the general public, to 90% of customers, they're completely unaware of that dog whistle calling the service industry. The word industry to me evokes these emotions of I added it to my training menu. Everyone knows that photo of all the workers sitting on top of a skyscraper eating their lunches like in the 1930s. Uh-huh. That era of worker, where, like I said in the very beginning, where you had to sweat for a living, you came home tired, an honest day's work. You got dirty, There's not anything. The word pretension is not a synonym in the thesaurus for industry. The word industry, I think honesty, I think hard work, I think being direct, I think utilitarian, essential, right? These are the words that come to mind when I think industry. And so, my atmosphere here is by no means a blue collar dump, but it is not hoity-toity. It's kind of splitting the baby, and industry is meant to evoke emotions of every day, all the time. We have a huge menu. We're open from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. And I want us to be a part of your industry. I want us to be a part of your life. And the concept that we are was proliferating more and more in an era when people don't commute to work and they don't see as many people every day, and they're missing that human interaction. Is creating a third space. And if anyone doesn't know what that means, Starbucks is the champion of creating a third space. But think Central Perk on Fringe. Think the Max on Saved by the Bell. The third space is your first place is home. Your second place is work. What's that third space that you drop into 2 to 3 times a week to gather for whatever, for a meeting, for a first date, to bring in 30 friends to just all grab together and have a happy hour with no rules. That community space, that salon, if you will, as they would say back in the day, where people from all walks of life gather and do their thing. And it's an ambitious concept. This one in Austin's only been open 5 months, and we're barely profitable. Sorry, Josh, I'm not getting paid back yet. So that's in a nutshell, what we're trying to accomplish. My goal for me, my goal for Josh, is we open 2 to 3 more of these, maybe have 4 total. And there's a very clear path in our industry to putting a valuation on that, taking on equity, and then growing much further. The multiple on a business in restaurants is only 3x, plus maybe what the lease is worth. It's not a lot, 3x of profit. But once you've proven the brand in different markets, the scalability becomes 10x, 100x. And so that's where we're trying to go.
That's awesome, man. I would imagine most of our guests can hear the passion, the excitement, the enthusiasm behind the way that you explain the business. And, I think that's one of the areas that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners struggle, is finding that why, finding that purpose, finding that meaning behind their brand. A lot of people see it as just a transaction treadmill. I'm going to open a restaurant, so I'm going to sell people food. Well, when that's all the deeper the meaning is, then it's much, much more difficult to withstand the trials and tribulations, the curveballs that life throws at us. I mean, we're sitting here in 2023. You not only survived COVID as a restaurant owner, but it actually accelerated your growth because you made the right decisions and you played your cards the right way. And so again, when I asked you to talk about industry, not once did you talk about a single menu item or a single recipe or the special sauce, that's on the salad. Instead, what poured out of you was the enthusiasm and the passion that you have for serving that purpose. And again, I think that's one of the areas where a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs struggle, is to figure out what in the heck is their purpose. I mean, I know I can show up to work and I can create transactions and create income, and that hopefully provides for my family. But you can easily see and hear from your vision of what industry is as a restaurant, that way before you ever even started cooking one recipe, there was a mission that you were going to serve to the community.
Oh yeah, so much I want to say here, and if I'm going down the right path, let me know. First of all, my favorite quote from a random drunk bar patron that I met 10 years ago is, people don't go out to eat because they're hungry. People go out because people want to be around people. Mm-hmm. And if I wanted to pay 4x markup for a chicken sandwich served in a cardboard box 30 minutes after I put it on my counter, I mean, that's third-party delivery. Where's the value? And we did thrive during COVID. We thrived during COVID because people were locked up, and then people wanted a place to be around other people. And the only other place you can do that is a bar. Not everybody can go to a bar, but the word pub is shorthand for public house, right? And that's what we were trying to accomplish. And I mean, you said it, man. I mean, if this is what let me know if we need to be talking about this today. But my staff are all 22-year-olds. Like a lot of them. At the very least, there's a high end of fluency. And you talk about the why, right? Yep. This generation, and unfortunately believe this, and part of it is they subscribe to the media drumbeat about this, is that capitalism is screwed, and it's going to be too elusive for them to own their own home and get married and have tell. I mean, just a new survey from the Wall Street Journal came out. 70% of them don't even want kids. They're not valuing the things that we used to value. They're valuing experiences. They're valuing purpose. But the money aspect, the stability of it, the reasons that they used to go to work, and the loyalty of working for a place have all changed. Mm-hmm. And I'm, through my manuals and communication with my staff, I try desperately to communicate that we're trying to change the world here, and I'll tell you, Josh, we are at a low point. It's very, very tough right now. I'm in Austin, Texas, and right now, I have staff that have worked for me for several months that I cannot terminate because I cannot replace them. And when I do get somebody that comes to work and they're a half hour late with AirPods in their ear and they give bad service to the customer, I'm just thankful they're there. I'm thankful they showed up, because if I critique them too hard, if I push them too hard, they won't show up for my brunch shift.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole restaurant collapses. And so right now, a lot of employers are being held hostage, by their employees. And the culture is more important than ever. But when your turnover is what it is, and the kind of employees you're hiring, you're having to compromise. We use the personality profile. We use all these metrics to hire people, and we're hiring not those people. We just don't have it. They're not qualifications to have a pulse. And so it's so difficult right now. Also, when you're a new business and the revenue is, not where you want it to be, everybody is feeling a sense of failure. They're like, well, we're not meeting our goals. So you have to even be more of a cheerleader. You have to over communicate, where where the business is going. You got to over communicate the why, because the why is not super obvious when you're sitting in a restaurant with only 10 lunch customers. And I'm having to explain the why to my people, more and more, and whatever platform that is, right? When you're a big company, I have 3 restaurants, I can only be in one at a time. It's the training manuals. It's the onboarding process that makes them feel like they're $1 million company. A lot of these people working in my industry, and the media again has put this home, that we are no longer a permanent place you work. This is a transient thing that you go through. And so you can get that $23 an hour remote tech job where you don't have to do anything, or 35 hours a week. That's how I lost a third of my staff 2 years ago to a false economy that I have to compete with. I'm a little bitter about it. Well, so people coming to work for me are coming to work with only one eye open, half engaged. They're quiet quitting sometime before I even hire them. And so how do I keep them engaged? Well, when I hire them, I make them feel like they're working for Apple with our system, with our training material. Like right out of the gate, I'm letting them know that we are $1 million business. That's not a lot of money, but it's a lot to them. $1 million business doesn't mean much, but we aren't just a fly-by-night. This is my dream. I sold 2 homes to get this restaurant open. And I tell my staff that, like, my savings paid for the company Christmas party. There's a way to communicate that without sounding bitter and asking for sympathy, and letting them know that, like, we're all going to battle together. Is that's the the $40,000, $60,000 question, right? Is how do we inspire? When it's not, like, when we're making $300 a night each server and tips, I can have a bad culture. I don't have to have good training systems, because the best people will just come want to work for me. The best looking people will come work for me, and I can cuss them out and make sexist comments, and they'll keep coming to work. And I'll say, scrub the floor with a toothbrush, and they'll do it because the revenue's there. It's right now, when the revenue's not there, that we're really, really tested, and our culture is bending and hopefully not breaking. And it's hard right now, Josh. We should have gotten on a call before the podcast.
No, I definitely appreciate your authenticity and your transparency as always. And I think the points that you're highlighting there. I mean, you talked about ways that the vision and the like the Easter eggs within the restaurant that speak to the people that are in the industry. I know you offer certain discounts for people that are in the industry to come, after hours, before their shifts at other restaurants. And then we also talk about the importance of, attracting and retaining the top talent. And, there are certain circumstances from time to time that like you said, cause you to bend but not break. And so what would you say has probably been the most important tool or resource or best practice in making sure that you guys can, suffer through the tough times, that you guys can persevere through the challenges?
I think it's definitely our core values. And that's a whole other podcast, right? If you haven't read the core value equation, if you haven't read Start With Why, probably some of my 2 favorite books. The first one, obviously, being the E-Myth, anybody getting into business, but our core values, using that as our North Star, and always coming back to that when we question, if we're doing the right thing, is our brand good? Are we treating this employee well? One of our biggest core values, you said it to me earlier about my authenticity. One of our core values is real. We're real. I practice a degree of open book management where, you know, my staff may not go through a P&L review with me, but they certainly know if we're you know breaking even, and they certainly know if we lost our ass one night and we had a record night another. They share in the victories and defeats so that they can develop empathy with us, and that is how, like right now, I'm keeping my core management team engaged. Is because they're in the bunker with me. They're not working for the man; they're
Mm-hmm.
working for a man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's really hard when you have multiple locations for them to know the man anymore, or a man. I mean, and so one of our core values is reliable, and you know we don't have a lot of bodies here. If a cook doesn't show up to work on Monday, I can't open my restaurant. I mean, that's how thin we run, and people understanding, um, you know, that they're essential. Everyone here is an essential worker,
Mm-hmm.
and telling them that, like, you know, you're key. And another one of our core values is here for us. And you know, I just remind them, you know, part of the name of the restaurant being industry is like, this is our house. You know, eliminating that master servant relationship. But what I mean by that is like, I'm not going to adjust my concept or the volume or the temperature of the dining room or the way we do things to appease some customer that's compromising our values. Like, this is
Mm-hmm.
who we are. And if we're not having fun as a team, then we should shut it down. You know, like if we're starting to do something that we're not, like right now, one of our main things that we're doing to stay solvent is we're doing a shit ton of catering. We're doing a lot of catering in the morning for corporate offices, and I'm dropping off coffee, you know, for $300 for, you know, a tech company at 6 a.m. That's not my brand. I'm doing it right now to make payroll,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, that's not who we are, you know. And so ultimately, I want to get back to doing what we love, and being in a business that actually like supports us first and foremost. If everybody else wants to be down for it, and we start doing 8 million a year, then great, that's a bonus. But first and foremost, there's 30 of us in this building, and that's what this business is for. Employee first, customer second. And by treating employees that way, the hope is they will then share that love and enthusiasm with the customer because they know that they're supported. And so my fourth core value is engaging me with embarrassing, real, here for us, reliable, and polished. But that doesn't really have a lot to do with our culture. That's just about the fact that we always want to innovate, always look brand new, always be proud of the product we're serving. But that's been important. And again, just communication, man. Like you said, the why. You gotta touch them more than normal, and then touch them in different ways. If that's your Slack channel every day, if that's a, you know, employee newsletter, if that's your bulletin board in the back, you know, or a group text, or however you do it, you know, on a daily basis, reminding them they work for a man or a woman, not this entity that it doesn't mean it. And that's where, you know, we're at a low point right now, but it's really testing us. And what we just had 5 staff put in their 2 weeks in the last week, and it was all because of an exodus of a kind of a Pied Piper employee we had that had to go take everyone with him because he left in a blaze of glory and was projecting his own issues back on us. And this trendy new restaurant up and down the street and started like one by one purposely coaching our staff. Now I know the owner of this restaurant. I could have called and I could have nipped it in the bud instead and just sabotaged the whole agenda. But I didn't want to get on that level. And what we found was the staff that stayed. And I went through this 3 months ago with a restaurant I opened. You know, we're at the 4 month mark. The staff that stayed, they are my core people, and they are reinvigorated. They are like, excuse my language, let's fucking do this. You, me, Harlan, we're going to take industry to the promised land, and it's exciting. It's an adrenaline rush, and we're bringing in this new group of people to work with them that don't know anything else other than our law. This is the Bible. This is God's word. This is how we do this thing. Because anyone that wasn't bought in, we flushed them out. And now we're lean, we're mean, and we're in survival mode. And you know, there were some casualties to get there. And so, the culture is real strong here now today. 2 weeks ago, I was afraid to walk in my own restaurant. It was South by Southwest. It was supposed to be the busiest time of the year. It's very chaotic, and it broke a lot of people. And but that's all great. But now I got my restaurant in San Marcos, and my dad always used to say, your life is spinning multiple plates, right? You got one starting to wobble, you go give it attention. The other one's spinning great, then it starts to wobble.
Mm-hmm.
And I got this plate down in San Marcos where all of a sudden, we're in full blown recession down there. My sales are down 25% in the month of March, out of nowhere, right? And I got a great team down there. They might need a little bit of Harlan. They might need a little bit of TLC, and thankfully I have systems in place. I have good management that we've, done due diligence before hiring, not just their resume, but looking at their character and using other metrics. And, you need your management to support your manuals. I mean, you can write a good training manual, man, but like if the person reading it to the staff and trying to enforce it isn't inspiring, or isn't servant-hearted, your systems aren't shit. And I actually have a really good team down there. It's the only reason why I've been able to, be here in this startup mode, this newborn baby we're trying to nurse here in Austin. But I think one thing I've learned with 3 restaurants is, and this is the guy that gets hired and paid 6 figures to give other companies company cultures and systems, right? But I've been humbled and reminded that I can't just go live on an island and retire no matter how good my systems are. These restaurants became great because of me and because of my business partner, Cody. And so every now and then, we got to go back into them. Every now and then, we got to show face. Every now and then, we got to get in my car and drive in rush hour, to my restaurant to go, glad hand the staff. And, no matter how big you are, maybe it's here at Chili's, it's not the owner, but it's the DO or the area manager. That's what, I realize that my systems can only go so far. And give yourself some credit. You are the reason you're successful. Your business is successful partially because of you, not your spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And I know that's true in your business, Josh. I mean, you told me how, and it's obviously your real estate market collapsed, so that made you have to reassess. And you freaking daddy came home, right? You came back to College Station, and you have such a strong culture that I admire. And you use all these systems from, EOS and these other systems. And but at the end of the day, there's no substitute for Josh.
Yep.
And that's, I'm learning that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, once again, Harlan, thank you for all the wisdom and most importantly, the authenticity and the experience share. I feel like as business owners, that's one of the best ways to learn is, not from someone bullshitting their way and painting the picture of the mountaintops, but it's really the valleys in between that the hard shit is learned and that the lessons really hit home. And so appreciate all your authenticity and all your experience shares today. And for our listeners, hope you guys got several takeaways from all the nuggets of information that Harlan shared with us here today. But that's about all the time we have for today's episode. Again, Harlan, I know you're a busy man. Really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come share your viewpoints and your experiences with our audience today. Any last thoughts or comments?
Well, I don't know a single entrepreneur that doesn't like to talk about themselves. So this was an absolute pleasure. One thing I'll say is that the older I get, the more time I spend mentoring and what a joy it is. And so many people have lifted me up and taught me things. Josh, I used to be a mentor to you, and then you became a mentor to me, and you watch each other on this ride. And if you have people you respect and you respect yourself, when someone laughs you or hits the mountain sooner than you, you're like, hell yeah, I feel that success. When you became successful, I felt success. And so it just comes full circle, so right now I'm trying to become more successful with you. I'm going to get you, dude. Yeah, man, absolute pleasure. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Harlan. And thanks again to our listeners. We'll catch you next time.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to 5-Star Company Culture with Josh Cunningham. Embrace these lessons to elevate your business and join the ranks of thriving organizations. Stay tuned for more episodes. And until next time, remember, culture is the key to your success.